Hi everyone, in this video we will talk about polynomial and rational inequality. We will start with a general process for solving inequality, and it is going to involve some of the tools that we have already seen. So essentially the tools are going to be: 1, solving an equation; 2, plotting on number line; 3, plugging in values to expression; and lastly, drawing conclusions. Okay, so each of these processes is going to give us a step in the solving of an inequality. And this process is general, so it can apply to any function. Specifically, we will be applying that process to polynomial and rational because those are the ones that we have dealt with so far. Okay, note, solving an inequality f of x less than 0 will give us solution to all of the following. It will give us solution to where it's 0. It will give us solution to where it's greater than 0. It will give us solution to where it's less than or equal to 0. And it will give us a solution to where it is greater than or equal to 0. So we can also say that it's just a process of analysis. Right? We're analyzing this expression to see what happens. Okay, and here's the 4-step process. There's a 4-step process to solve, suppose, any function f of x less than 0 or its equivalent or any of the other inequality. Step 1 is find zeros, and what we, in the rational case, it will be vertical asymptotes. So, which means we will be solving the equation for f of x equals 0 or where f of x has vertical asymptotes. The second part is not going to come into play for polynomial functions because they don't have those, but the first one will come into play. So we'll go through this process, we will end up with a bunch of values for x, we will end up with some values for x. Step 2 is what are called picking test points. To do that, we have 2 sub-processes. First, mark out all the x values from step 1 on a number line. So depending on however many ones you get, just mark them out. So you will have a bunch of these. Then for each interval, pick any test point. What does that mean? That means that once you label these markers on the number line, you're dividing this number line into a bunch of intervals. And each interval, you can pick a test point. So pick any number that lies between these 2 ticks over here. Step 3, well, it's a test point for a reason because you're going to test using it. So evaluate the expression at the test point. What does that mean? For each of these numbers, we're going to plug this in, plug and check if f of x is positive or negative. Right? So f of this stuff equals whatever. And then step 4, label each interval as positive or negative according to step 3 and report the required result. What that means is, at this point, you've solved all the possible inequalities. So depending on the question, whether it's asking you where it is 0, less than 0, greater than 0, greater than equal to 0, you can then answer your question. Right? So what we'll do is, we're just going to take this old number line from here, stick it in here, and maybe you have positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. And then you just answer your question based on, if you're asked for positive, so the answer for positive, for f of x greater than 0 would be the blue interval. So all of these blue numbers using union. If your question was f of x less than 0, then it would be the yellow interval. Again, you will use the interval notation with your unions and infinity symbols and all of that. All right, let's apply this to a very simple example. Let's say I am asked to solve, in this case, I'll make things a little easier for myself and I'll keep it already in a factored form. And to illustrate this entire thing, I will just copy this process and fill in the details. Right, so step 1, says find zeros and vertical asymptotes. In this particular case, vertical asymptote doesn't apply because it's a not available for polynomials. I will solve this part. So solving x minus 2, x minus 4 equals 0 gives me x equals 2 and 4. So let me just put that in the list over here. X equals 2 comma 4. Step 2 had me mark all of these points on a number line and pick test points. So let me write that. And again, I'm not going to need all of these things. I don't need so many tick marks, so I'll just pick whatever ones I need, which in my case is 2 and 4. So I need 3 test points. 0 is a number that's less than 2. 3 is one of the numbers between 2 and 4. And 5 is over here. Step 3, I'm going to plug these in. If I plug in 0, 0 minus 2, 0 minus 4, will give me a positive number. And once again here, it's not the exact value of the number that's important. What is important is whether it's positive or negative. And then 5 minus 2, 5 minus 4, and this stuff becomes all positive, which is positive. And then finally, we're just gonna assimilate the result and write down what we obtained. We obtained that for the test point 0, which means for the entire interval less than 2, it gives a positive result, and then a negative, and then a positive. And now I go back up, we are trying to find where it is less than 0. So the solution will be between 2 and 4. So here, the given function is positive, and in negative infinity to 2 union 4 to infinity, suppose we were asked where it is positive, then that would be correct, which means I made a mistake here. This should be less than. Okay, so that's a simple application on a very simple polynomial. In the next video, we will just focus on more examples, which just it's gonna go through the process a couple of times for polynomial and for rational. And that's pretty much it. It illustrates the process remains the same. Okay, so that's it for this video.